Miles, how you doing? John, Byron, Dominic, Peter, how are we all doing? Chris, Michelle. Wow, early Saturday morning. Are we all in the UK? I know I am. Are you all in the UK? As cricket enthusiasts, which I'm assuming you all are, we're all obsessed with the weather, right? Australia. What part of Australia? Is it 10 days? 10 days before Mick, how you doing? Nuneaton, nice. New South Wales. Sydney, yeah, nice. I've got some good memories of Sydney. I went outside of Sydney as well. Amazing road trip. Can't remember. My brother's going there in a few weeks' time. All gearing up for the Ashes. Morning, Mick. Okay. A word of caution. My 6 and 3-year-old are in there by themselves. 3-year-old had mummy up a few times last night, so she's still in bed. But I've stuck an old school cartoon on, as we do. Dominic, morning. He-Man. Now I'm getting old, and I used to love He-Man. And now, thankfully, it's gone round full circle as these things do, and they're in there watching He-Man. Anyway, right. I'm going to make more and more of a habit of these calls whenever I can, because I'm enjoying interacting. You okay, Seb? I'm enjoying interacting. What's really important to me is whatever I talk about is relevant to everybody. I've got loads of thoughts and dive into stuff that I've been involved in at every level. However, these are really, really good, and it gives me a lot of energy because it gives you guys and girls an opportunity to interact with each other, Q&A, that kind of stuff. But I thought what I'd do here is resurrect Saturday mornings with Barnsey. And I'll bring a theme. And today's theme is all about back foot contact. And the reason I've picked that is that I received a message via Instagram just asking about, can you explain the aspects of back foot contact? Morning, Craig. And what is important? What should we see? And I guess what should we feel also for the players that are here as well? So back foot contact. My philosophy, just to begin with, is I observe probably more now than I ever did. I observe a lot. I don't say a lot when I first start working with a player, and I'm working more and more kind of privately now. And so I'm seeing new players come along, which is great. But I observe a lot. I set things up, and I just watch. I capture a bit of video as long as they're happy for me to do so. And I see what is consistent. And one of the things is back foot contact. And there's a couple of aspects. One is, where is the foot pointing? And for me, I kind of categorize them into three positions. And they won't be new to you, I'm sure. Side on back foot. So rotate around, back foot is parallel to the crease. Midway, semi-midway, it's called a number of other things as well, but I just stick with midway. That's what I was taught all those years ago. And front on, all right? And depending on, I kind of see how the back foot lands naturally. Bowling for me starts from the ground up. So I always start with feet. Batting, and I do enjoy batting coaching actually through a bowler's pair of eyes. Batting, I start from the head down. That's just my kind of preference, really. But back foot contact, side-on bowlers, they rotate round a little bit more. And I'm really going to kind of summarize this bit and then open it up to any questions. Side-on back foot contact, they rotate around a little bit more. So they have to create a fraction more time. We're talking fractions of seconds, but they have to create more time to rotate around. And you often find that with side-on back foot bowlers, they might jump up a fraction more. They might run in slightly slower than midway and front-on bowlers. Slightly slower, I'm not talking proper slow, but I'm just talking about slower because it allows that time for them to just fractionally jump up. We're still jumping forwards, and that's really important for all types of bowlers. But by jumping up, it gives them that time to rotate around. Okay. For midway bowlers, they generally run in a little bit quicker, ideally, and they generally land and they get off their back foot contact. We all want bowlers to, regardless of what the position their back foot contact, to get off their back foot as quickly as possible. Okay. But generally midway bowlers run in quicker and they skip through the crease, and skip through the crease, generally front on bowlers, they're through the crease really quickly. They get off their back foot, and they spend a lot longer on their front foot. All right. So in terms of timing, if you were to time how long each of those bowlers spend on their back foot versus front foot, we want all of those bowlers to be spending slightly longer on their front foot than they do back foot. Okay. Back foot contact is the start of the delivery stride. All right. It's the moment that the back foot lands. And we are looking for a slight flex. That's all it is, a flex. We are not looking for, lots of people call it a collapse. We're not looking for a collapse because it means you're spending too long on the back foot and you're losing energy. And if the back leg continues to flex, we're talking about first point of contact here, is that if the back leg continues to bend, that can then mean that energy starts going down as opposed to along the crease and keep moving towards the target. So ideally, we are literally at first point of contact, we are looking almost for the back leg to be like flex a little bit to absorb, but then use that energy to kick into front foot contact. We're looking for that back foot or that back leg to be like a table leg. It's almost like they're landing and then literally, because they're moving towards the target, the table leg literally just flips them into front foot contact. That is ideally what we're looking for. Okay. We're not looking for a collapse. We all use the word collapse. It's just a back leg bend, right? Are there any questions on that so far? Less time back foot, more time front foot. In terms of the health of the action, which we'll move into, the health of the action we are looking for at first point of contact. Okay, so if you're capturing video, first point of contact, where on the foot is the back foot landing on the ground? Is the leg straight or is it flexed? Because an already flexed front leg can kind of would tell you that actually this bowler may struggle to stay upright. Okay, so we are looking for as straight back leg as possible to get them into front foot as quickly as possible. Any questions so far? Got 14 of you. It's 8 o'clock on a Saturday morning. I'm not sure what time it is in Sydney. It's a really interesting one, this. It can get quite complicated. And my whole approach to this, 7 p.m. Nice. Glass of red in hand. My philosophy is to share as much as I can in simple ways, in simple terms, because I get that when you see somebody bowling or you are bowling yourself, there's lots of movements and there's lots of people out there sharing science and things. And often, I mean, I'm no scientist. I understand it, and I take the bits that I think I can use as a cricket coach, as a bowling coach. But I'm no scientist, so I like to talk in simple languages. I left school at 16. I'm not academic, but I do study. So breaking things down in simple terms, I think, is really important. Apologies for my cold. In terms of back foot contact, everything I've seen research so far suggests minimal contact area is more beneficial for pace. Yeah. This is an interesting one, Chris. Now, you absolutely, you want to get off the heel. If you're on the heel, you want to get off it as quickly as possible. Okay. I always think the front part of the foot, the ball of the foot, call it whatever you want, that's the accelerator. Anybody that lands on the heel, that's the brake. It stops momentum. So you're right. If somebody lands on their back foot on their heel, you then have to go through a process of what the cause is. What is causing them to land on their heel? And if the ball is moving in that direction, what normally happens is their posture is back. So therefore, they strike with their heel. All right. Now, I'm big on posture. I'm big on more and more. I reckon in the last 6 or 7 years, I've become more and more observant and working with S&C coaches and running coaches more and more about how bowlers enter the crease. That transition from their run-up, their preparation phase, into the crease, which is their performance phase. And I think bowlers that bring their arms up and their hands up too high can then have a negative impact on posture in that they start leaning back, chest, belly button now pointing up, heels hitting the floor. So any bowler that is hitting their back foot contact with their heel, the cause is normally found before that. You may have heard me talk about this a lot before. So check out the posture, particularly as they're making that transition from run up into as they start entering the crease. If their hands come up too quickly, they start leaning back and their heel starts hitting the floor. And often, if they're hitting with their heel on the back foot contact, they're hitting the heel generally 2 or 3 strides before that as well. So we sort that phase out, get them more upright, and get them getting off their back foot quicker. Chris, does that answer your question? I absolutely agree with you. In most terms, heel is the brake. Front part of the foot is the accelerator. Okay. So we want to maintain, as we move through the crease, we want to maintain that energy from our run-up by running efficiently. And we maintain it by being upright and almost skipping off as efficiently as possible, skipping off that back foot and spending a lot more time on front foot, which we'll cover on another call, the front foot. If there's any energy leaks, the upper body then has to try and compensate for that. And generally, you're going to lose energy. It's difficult to gain it again, especially late in that action. And it affects ball speeds. And also, if you're spending a lot of time on back foot contact, it definitely affects the direction of your energy. And if your energy starts going down, as opposed to along, so if that leg, so this is back leg, this is upper body, So that this is heel hitting the floor, upper body is forwards. What can then generally happen is energy goes down, and bowlers can find it very difficult to stay upright through into front foot contact, through into release, and stack up on top of each other. And energy going down is a red flag for me. Generally, the front leg's gonna bend, which is not always a bad thing. You can still bowl fast with a bent front leg. But we are definitely looking for an upright posture and avoiding heel strikes where we can. Chris, does that answer your question? Perfect. Yeah, got it. How to coach, get into that position. We're not talking about front side today, Priyansh. I think the easiest way to coach that posture position is to work a lot on run-ups. I really do. We're not talking about run-ups today necessarily, but I'm a big fan of bowlers working with somebody who knows how to run. And I think as a general rule, quicker bowlers, pace bowlers, they need to run efficiently, leak the least amount of energy as possible with the way that they run. So you almost want them to run as efficiently as possible, so they are running quicker than medium pacers or slower bowlers than them. They're running quicker but using less energy because they're running efficiently. All right. So even when they're running, you want them hitting the floor underneath their chin, which keeps their posture upright. Again, keep an eye on hands. If the hands come up and they start running like this, their feet will get out in front of them. So I would have all bowlers, you know, I've been fortunate enough to work with a lot of very good bowlers at the top level. And I always ensure they keep on top of their running technique, working closely with the S&C coach, analysing from side on, okay, what's their posture like? When they strike the floor with each foot, where is it in terms of the rest of their body? What are their arms doing and so on? So how to coach that position? Absolutely work on run-ups. Okay, I'm just going to go into something else here. I think it's so important. And this is where back foot contact comes in. As we work up the chain, keep an eye on posture, but also keep an eye on pelvis. And the easiest way to do that is to, if you can see it, keep an eye on their waistband, on their tracksuit bottoms or their shorts, whatever they are wearing. Because ideally at back foot contact, okay, hopefully my my hands, you can understand what I do in my hands. So upright at back foot contact, their waistband is horizontal and it keeps them moving forwards and it keeps their pelvis in a more neutral position. If if a pelvis is pointing down, so if a hinge position, legs, upper body, so heels hitting the floor, upper body is further through their action. We see a lot of this where like the glutes are kind of out the back, legs, upper body. If the waistline is pointing down, that is where energy is going. And that then places big demands on bowlers having to stay upright, and many can't. So as soon as this pelvis starts pointing down, it's a red flag. It's been proven that unstable pelvis. I can hear my two in there playing He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. It's been proven that an unstable pelvis when people are running, and so the runner, we go back to the running technique, a weak core, trunk, whatever that looks like at age group level, and obviously senior level, unstable pelvis when they're running, and a pelvis waistband that is pointing down at back foot contact is a red flag. Very highly linked to injuries because bowlers simply cannot get back up because they've got lots of energy moving towards a target, hopefully. They're not, their energy's at the target as opposed to anywhere else. And they simply, with that force that they're using into front foot contact, they cannot get up. And that then affects their upper body, their health of their action, the position they're in, and so on and so on. And we normally get a lot of side bend. Sorry. I'm going to have to blow my nose. I'm really sorry. I blame these two and they're bringing all sorts of bugs back with them. Okay, apologies. What have we got here? How to coach to get that position. Okay, how to use front side. Done that one. We're gonna use front side again. A load of these issues could be resolved if schools work more on teaching children. Totally agree. Totally agree. But there's ways to do that, Mick. And I know that you were on the call the other night on Tuesday. And by the way, if you're not available on Tuesday evenings, we're going into developing bowlers taking a long-term approach. All right. We've gone 2 calls so far, starting at age 10 to 12 and then 13, 14, I think. And we've gone into a lot of detail as to what developing bowlers at that stages look like. And I'm also sharing resources like coaching resources, player resources. They're going out to my paid subscribers, which I'm really grateful for. So if ever you're interested in me sending you a load of resources to look at, refer to, make your own, or whatever, you might want to consider becoming a paid subscriber. But it's not for everybody. Okay, this is not a sales job. But there's ways to do that, Mick, and I think just getting them active. I'm a massive fan of multi-sport kids, male and females, athleticism, change of direction, running. And we're not trying to turn people into athletes that all run the same way. Of course we're not, because we're all different. But there is efficient movement and there's inefficient movement. And multi-sport players generally pick up efficiency. So I'm a big fan of, in this country, although the weather can often put people off, rugby, football, hockey, basketball, change of direction, coordination, teamship, reading a game, all this kind of stuff. So athletics, gymnastics, all this kind of stuff. And these two don't know it yet, Seb and Raf, but they are going to be doing a lot of that as long as they enjoy it. But it's all about fun. So I hope that teaching children how to run. Yeah, you can do, relay races, British Bulldogs, all sorts of stuff. The old school games. That's how you can set things up, and you're teaching people how to move and run, but they don't know it because they're having a lot of fun. Jen, what causes the waistband pointing down and how to stop it? I kind of touched on it already. Look out for a change of direction. So do bowlers change direction, from their run up, and as they're entering the crease, a change of direction can have a negative impact on keeping that waistband horizontal. It can get them going down. A lack of or not enough leg core strength. Depends what age group you're talking about. So glutes, quads, glutes, hamstrings, hip flexors, all that kind of stuff. You can train them just by playing games with younger age groups. But if you're working with slightly older, 13, 14, they have to start getting into the habit of really developing strength in their glutes, because glutes are the last line of defense to keep you upright. All right, they're big muscles, and if you can get them firing as you jump forwards, you're landing and you're absorbing. So if your quads, calf, quads, hamstrings, glutes are strong enough, it can keep you upright. That's how you keep that horizontal waistband. All right. So change of direction, that can have a negative effect. Strength can have a negative effect. To lower jump, to higher jump, because what goes up, if somebody's jumping up big time, obviously what goes up must come down. Then you've got horizontal forces, and then they're relying on their leg strength to keep them upright, to keep that waistband there. So there's a few things to consider. But I think ultimately what you're looking for, if a bowler is running in efficiently, and it looks quite natural with how they make that transition from the run up into back foot contact. And then what you're looking for is the efficiency of staying upright from back foot into front foot. Jen, I've just given you a few things there to kind of consider. Just make sure, just reply, have I answered your question efficiently enough? I'll come back to you there. Okay, so there's a few things. One kind of thing that you can keep an eye on, which is coming to the end in a minute, keep an eye on is the position of their, thank you, Jen, position of their jump stride, their back foot contact stride, regardless of the position of their back foot contact, their front foot contact and their first stride follow through. So those 4 strides, you are looking for those to be lined up. And if you were to extend, kind of join those 4 together, if you extend it, they would be pointing down the wicket. Any stride that comes away from that, there are compensations, because what I mean by that, your body wants to go where the feet are landing on the floor, right? But if they're not all working together towards the target, the upper body then has to compensate and make some adjustments to get back online with the target, and that's when you can start seeing falling away to get back online with the target and all sorts of things. So that's just a nice little marker. Jump, gather, stride, back foot contact, front foot contact, first stride, follow through. We want them as lined up as possible, pointing straight down the wicket. All right. So there's a few things. Okay. So I've talked a little bit about the height of the jump. So you generally would see a slightly higher jump, but still jumping forwards. All bowler types, whether they're side on, midway, or front on, they would all be jumping toward the target. But generally, you would have a side on back foot bowler just jump slightly higher, because they have to create more time, a fraction more time to rotate around. Midway bowlers slightly lower, but still jumping towards the target. And front on bowlers, that transition from run up, they jump more shallow because they're literally skipping through the crease. Okay. We're trying to avoid changes of direction. Okay, some simple cues to work with bowlers. Land strong and quick, not soft and long. All right, so we're not absorbing at back foot. We're landing strong, upright, and quick. Back foot under hips, not reaching way out in front. So that refers back to heel strike. All right, back foot under hips keeps you upright, not reaching way out in front of you. You don't want your back foot reaching way out. All right. Use back foot contact to keep speeding through the crease. and not put the brakes on. You're not looking to stop. You're looking to stop on front foot. Okay. And then just one other thing here. I like working with cues. I try and, where I can, I try and avoid technique talk with young bowlers. I try to use cues to help them kind of bring their technique together. Let the jump be forwards with height, not only height. Long jump, not high jump. Okay. Okay. As an S&C coach, I believe players need to learn hinging pattern, or how to hinge effectively rather than bending forwards. Yeah. I think it's really important, Priyansh. If I'm assuming you're a bowling coach as well, I think it's really important to keep things simple. So you clearly have the knowledge. We all have the knowledge, but we have to keep the player in mind. What do they need to know? Not what do we want them to know? My experience tells me this is what I need to tell them. What's the simplest way to do it? Because players do not need lots of information. They just need cues, really. It really resonated with me working on bowlers from the ground up. Yeah, I see so many coaches, especially in the spin world, focusing on the wrist and hand. Yeah, and that's, I can't remember. I mean, that's just something that works for me. But I honestly believe bowling is definitely from the ground up. Any other questions? Yeah, is there anything else in here? I thought next week I've got, depending on how this call went, actually, I've put some stuff out on social media about players who have a mistiming and have illegal actions and the possible causes of it. But maybe we'll talk about that on another call. It's a really interesting subject, which I do have experience of, and I know that because of my posts, lots of people have experience of. So it'd be really good to share what I know, what I've picked up. And I absolutely believe that coaches need to intervene. But first of all, you need to kind of understand what an illegal action is, really. But in terms of just looking at my notes, what a good back foot contact tends to look like. Momentum is maintained, not absorbed. Okay. The feel is land and go, land and go, land and go, ba-boom. As opposed to land, sink, then go. All right, two totally different things. The phase is too slow or too up and down, you lose run-up speed. So we are trying to be as efficient as possible when we land at back foot contact. Right, that's 33 minutes. If there are any other questions? Don't think I've missed any. 18 of you. I do not take this stuff for granted, you know. I am Paul. Priyansh, pleasure. Been working with H, yes, to go from side on to midway contact. What drills would work? I'm assuming you're talking about H that I know as well from Old Hill, right? From side on to midway. So the interesting thing for me would be, well, my first question is why? So it is possible. I said right at the start of the session, bowlers generally land where they want to land. However, if they land in such a way that is unhealthy, it is absolutely possible to change how your back foot the position of your back foot, but it is a long process. You're basically rewiring. I don't know how old you are. You're rewiring the way that your body wants to operate naturally. So if you can answer that, Ant, really quickly here. Mick, pleasure. Please tell me. Jen, pleasure. John, I'm glad you're taking stuff from this. I'm never actually quite, never actually sure. What I mean by that, I'm just talking. I don't find this natural, by the way. But why do we coach? We want to help people, and I'm just looking to kind of help players, coaches, parents. So I'm glad you're enjoying it, John. But if I want to make it relevant, so this week was back foot contact, maybe front foot contact next week. Those are available on Tuesday. Please come and join me because it's part 3 of the taking the longer term approach to developing pace bowlers. Okay. Michelle, pleasure. We're spending a lot of time on back foot and jumping up rather than jumping. Okay. Sometimes, Ant, I'm not saying it's wrong to change the position of your back foot contact. I would always look at that and say, right, well, what is happening before you landed back foot contact? You spend a lot of time on back foot. The easiest way to get off your back foot quicker is to run in quicker. So if a bowler is running in slower and they're jumping up, they will be spending more time on their back foot. It's impossible. Well, nothing's impossible, but it's more difficult to hang on your back foot if you're running in quicker and you're jumping forwards. And what you generally find really is that if you're running in slightly quicker, I've never seen you bowl, I don't think. If you're running in slightly quicker, I'm not talking about sprinting in, but you're jumping forwards, you'll generally find your back foot kind of changes automatically without even think about it. I know because I went through exactly the same thing when I used to play a long time ago. I used to be a side-on back foot bowler, copied in both of them. And then when I was playing club cricket, like late 20s, early 30s, I just wanted to have a couple of seasons where, you know, what is possible in terms of pace. And I ran in quicker, and all of a sudden I went from side-on to midway. Yeah. But I was spending a lot of time on back foot. I would want to have a look at your posture, 2 strides leading into your jump. Are you starting to lean back? Are you striking on your heels when you run? Because if you're doing that, you're slowing down and you're going to be spending more time on your back foot anyway. So I would kind of say, okay, well, what is causing that? What are the possible causes? And just kind of work things out that way, if you see what I mean. Craig, pleasure. Thank you. Appreciate it. I feel you really enjoy these sessions. I do, actually. I do, but I just want to make sure they're relevant. I want to talk about relevant things and I want to share relevant things. It feels like we're building something and I will be pushing to make sure that I'm helping as many people as possible. So I think that we're at an end now. 19 of you. Thank you. Really appreciate it. And grateful. These videos, I think, will be clipped up, so you might be hearing 1 or 2 bits of it again. I think this whole video goes out on email as well. So really appreciate that. Tuesday evenings, if you're available, 7:30. Appreciate your time. Really do. Have a great Saturday. Catch you soon.